at Baker Hunt. We are in the mansion currently, and there's a really rich history here.
To really get the history of Baker Hunt, you have to go back to 1838. And that is when John Baker and his friend made all of these stops at big cities, but they really found that Cincinnati spoke to them. So they moved here in 1854 at 620 Greenup Street.
John and his wife Henrietta went on to give birth to Margaretta, who later founded the Art and Cultural Center.
Margaretta, her brother, her mom and dad all lived here until Margaretta got married, and she married a man by the name of William Hunt. And Margaretta and William moved into the house. They assumed the responsibilities, but still there were several people living in the home. And then they had their first and only daughter named Katie Hunt. After Katie was born, then Margaretta's twin, her name was Kate Scudder, and she moved into the home as well. The whole family unit just revolved their whole life around Katie because she was the only child in the family. And unfortunately, on Katie's 15th birthday, she passed away of spinal meningitis. And that was only the start, because a few years after that, then Henrietta passed away. The brother had already passed away, and then Margaretta's dad and husband passed away within a year. So by the 1900s, the house was totally empty with the exception of Margaretta and Kate Scudder. And so in 1922, they created and formed the Baker Hunt Foundation. And the basis of the whole foundation was really about education, art, science, religion, and a big emphasis on spirituality.
So what was it that really brought them to have an interest in spirituality?
Spirituality was pretty common around that time because of the Civil War. So a lot of people were reaching out, trying to communicate with the dead because so many of their family members had passed away during the Civil War.
Because of the immense grief that they had experienced, they called on a very well-known medium to come and help them communicate.
Again, she was really a staple here. She spent many days in the bedroom of Katie Hunt, and she would try to communicate through slate writings. Somewhere there are actually some letters and apparently some slate writings from the experiences that they've had.
So that tie to spirituality and that interest in spirituality, it seems like some folks might still be here.
So spirituality, although we don't teach it here anymore, it still plays a part. We had a locksmith here several years ago, and the locksmith was working at the bottom of the spiral steps. And he looked up and he saw an older woman in a gown. He asked the secretary if anyone was living upstairs, and the secretary said no. And she said, "But let me show you a picture of our founder." And he said, "That's who I saw." And he vowed to not return to Baker Hunt again. Even some of the current staff and instructors today have their own little personal stories of seeing things going across the window, doors being opened or closed when they weren't before, objects being moved, lights being on when nobody should be in the museum, but the museum lights are on. We've also heard the keys of the piano play when there was nobody in here and the lights were out.
Yeah, what do you think it is that keeps bringing them back?
In recent years, they did a seance here. And I was not part of it, but it was some team members prior to me. And they asked questions, do you like the way things are going? Is there anything that you would change? And we had someone come here and perform the seance, and they performed it upstairs, close, right outside of Katie's bedroom. And some of the feedback from the medium was that there were a few things that Margaretta wanted to change, but other things that she really liked. And so, yeah, it kind of is interesting to think that maybe she just wants to continue to see how the legacy is going, and that we're staying true to what she wanted to see happen.